You are listening to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss our RC adventures.
Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of the new RC Flyer. Join your hosts, Michael and Jay, as they take flight at the park. Now on with the show.
Everybody, welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael from Arizona. With me always are my good friends.
Jay from the hills of Texas.
And Shannon G in Mesa AZ.
And once again, welcome to our podcast. We do appreciate your patronage. We appreciate you joining us today and for this episode. And if you would, stop by, give us a share, a like, a subscribe. We're continuing to grow. It's really nice to see more listeners and more subscribers. Giving us that thumbs up and subscribing helps the YouTube channels. What do you call them? The YouTubes or the Googles? They give us the proper exposure.
Algorithm.
Yeah, the algorithm things.
Bum.
And I'm still getting used to learning that. So, it's something new for me. So we appreciate you helping us out, though, and making it, worth our while to do the podcast. So we appreciate it. We talked 2 podcasts ago, I think, about my Eratix and the fun, opportunity that I got with that. And I know that we had an episode where, basically I got the batteries and couldn't charge them, right? That was Jay
Right.
and I were talking about.
You have every type of connector there is to the world, but the one that you
right.
need.
And so this is the batteries that came. These are the new Spectrum batteries. They've got these little IC20s on them. They are fairly small compared to the other connectors that I have. And there's really no pair boards or anything that charges these. You have to go from an IC20 to the IC3 or the XT30s or whatever these are, the XT30s, I think. You have to do some sort of a conversion. And anyway, I didn't have it, so I was kind of frustrated because, I wanted to fly it and I couldn't. So I had to put my feelers out and finally found someone that had a connector. They had the other side.
Yeah, and it wasn't like that. Like they're all over the place, right?
No, there were a lot of people that were out of them. Sorry about that. I had to turn my fan on. All of a sudden, air conditioner turned off. It got really hot in here. The connector on the end of it has 3 pins. I don't know if you can see that, but there's that 3rd pin inside there. And they, they go together. The one in the battery has an empty pin in the middle. So they're a little on the proprietary side because there's an open hole here. If I didn't have a pin on an IC20 or if I found something that would fit this particular one, I could make it work. But there's nothing that fits the IC20s. So you have to buy the other side of it. And so that's what I did. I was looking around. I think the Horizon Hobby guys were out of them. They were out of stock. And I was kind of like, oh, I don't know what to do. And so I started looking around. And I actually found someone. We'll give a shout out to the place where I got them was from, where did I tell you I got them? Up in Utah somewhere. I think it was. No, I just had a brain hemorrhage in it. And I just forgot. You know what? I could probably look at my mail and see here. They came from, and of course, I don't know where I got them. Anyway,
it's a place on the East Coast. Anyway, I know that.
Coast. Anyway, they had some. They had some in stock, and so I ordered them, and I was all excited. They were supposed to come in, and while Jay always hates it when I do this, but so I ordered them, and I told him, I said, hey, I found these, and they're A-Main Hobbies. That's where it came from. I remember A-Main Hobbies. So
okay, they're Chico, California.
They're Chico, California, not Utah. All right. So in Chico, California, the A-Main Hobbies guys had some, and I was like, oh, they have some, so I ordered them. And I just ordered a package of them, and I ordered an extension that they had that goes to a IC3, I think. So anyway, Jay and I were talking about it, and I was like bummed out because I'm like, you know what, they're not going to get here until Monday, and uh, and then I'm working, and then by the time I get home, I got to make them the whole deal. So I got done talking with Jay, and for some reason, I don't know what I was thinking, I jumped on to see where my Amazon packages were, and sure enough, Amazon had these that could be delivered the next day. So I was like, well, heck, that's a no-brainer. So I went ahead and clicked the button and ordered them from Amazon. And so the next day rolls around, and of course I live out in the country, and normally my packages don't get here till 5 or 6 o'clock, sometimes 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I wasn't really expecting it, and for some reason he came to my neighborhood first that day, and so I got him by like 10 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, all right, these came in. So I jumped with my soldering iron, and I actually made a connector. I put the JST, the little red connector on the bottom of this one, and made a charging lead for my paraboard. And of course, I have 4 batteries, and so I went ahead and made 4 of the connectors. And if you kind of look at these, you can see that they're all attached to my little charging board now. And so
nice.
So now I was like, oh sweet, I can charge all 4 batteries simultaneously. And so it took me 10-15 minutes to solder, drop those soldering tips in there, or little soldering leads in there, and then I just crimped the other side for the little red JST, and they fit in, and I started charging batteries. So I was all excited because I was just like, oh man, this worked out great. And so I sent a picture to Jay, and I was like, hey, I'm ready to go. I'm going to go fly my airplane in the morning. And it's Friday. And he's like, what? They came already? And I was like, yeah, they showed up. He's like, wow, that was really fast. You just ordered them like yesterday. And so I was like, yeah, they showed up. So he's always telling me that I forgot what I ordered, but I just got a notification today actually that the A-Main Hobbies order just showed up in my mailbox. So now I got another set of these, and I'll be able to put like EC or XT 30s or XT 60s on the other end, and now I can charge off of 2 different ones. So that was pretty exciting. But anyway, long story short, I got all my batteries charged. I went ahead and charged up the smaller ones for the UMX Consendo, and then I charged up a bunch of 4-cell batteries for the little Bearcat, the Flightline Bearcat that I have, and I decided to go out and head out to the field. So that's what I was able to do, and it worked out great. I got to maiden the. I got to fly the Consendo, the UMX Consendo. I got to maiden the Eratix, and I got to fly the Bearcat, through 4 or 5 batteries. So it was a really good time, and it was really great weather. The new Ramada's up. I was very impressed with the new Ramada. The one thing, Shannon, you've spent a while since you've been there, but the last time we were there, it had when it had the wooden structure on it. One of the things that was very troublesome was lifting the aircraft up from the table, right? So our tables were sitting there. You'd lift the aircraft up, and it was low enough that you would smack the tail, right?
Whack. Yeah.
Well, this is probably 10 or 12 feet high. The ceiling is, so you can literally, I could stand my turbine up on his nose and not hit the roof. So there is a lot more surface, distance above you. And it's wider, and metal, so it gives a much brighter, it's brighter underneath it, and it covers a little bit more of a shadow because it's a little higher, a little taller. And then they just finished, got a shout out to Charlie. He and a bunch of guys at the field redid the tables, and so now the tables where it had that kind of fake blue AstroTurf kind of outdoor carpet stuff on it. Now it's a real smooth. It's the thick stuff, and when you drop something on it, it doesn't go flying off somewhere or get lost in the grass. It's actually a nice carpet. It's almost like the one I have in my shop. Yeah, right. Fake grass. It's a little bit more. This one is actually an indoor outdoor carpet, but I know, right? But the one that they have is really super smooth. It feels good. It's waterproof. It's really, really nice. And then they went ahead and did the bottom shelving on the tables as well. So we have new shelves on the table.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So nice. It really, really, really looks nice. And as I understand, you finally got yours done too, correct? The Ramada.
Yes. So they started on last Friday, and the 9th. I think it was the 9th, right? And they got pretty far the first day. They were posting pictures along the way, but when they were trying to drill for the posts. They had these giant drills on a Bobcat, but they hit rock, so they had to go in and like jackhammer it out to get it as far down as they wanted it to be, secure. So they got that done, and they had like by Friday afternoon they had the framework like all the way across done, and then by Saturday, I think even the Sunday, maybe they did a little work on Monday too, had the full covering. There's we couldn't, like I said, we couldn't butt it up right to the original on either side, but it's really, really close. And I think we're just going to overlap it with something down the road. But they painted it. It's the same color paint, matched. I don't know if we had it or if they went and got it, but it looks beautiful. So we're so happy. It took forever, but that's just the way things are. Like with you guys, and but the patience pays off because we're definitely back in business for all of our events. We'll still have to redo the electrical, which is actually a good thing because there's definitely some things we were having issues with before, electrical wise, and I think one of the things I'm going to look at is some replacement or better placement of we'd replace the sound system. Some of the speakers just weren't quite where I thought they should have been at the time, so I think now we'll go back and work on that. I know. On the corners, we had the speakers that would swivel, so we could turn it towards the crowd. I'm thinking the ones that are more into the inside by the bunker, I'm going to do the same thing. So, depending upon what event's going on, we can turn them out, or we can turn them in towards the thing. It's just whatever we need it to be. So I think that's something that's going to really help. And then just some new, we had just new boxes and things, just new receptacles. Just a bunch of them were kind of getting past their prime because we put them through a lot, but
good,
very happy.
Well, so that's fantastic that both of us have new Ramadas, and that's kind of exciting that we're able to get out there and fly with those. It was a gorgeous day out at the flying field, and I was able to fly the Eratix, and let me tell you, it was a lot of fun. I have a ton of flat foamies in here, and you can obviously around my shop, I've got several that I built over the years that I either fly right out in front in my house or in my driveway or in my backyard, and this one is no exception. So it's powered very, very appropriately. I get about 3 to 5 minutes worth of flying, depending on what I'm doing. If I'm doing really like a lot of hovering or that kind of thing. It comes with a safe and a AS3X. However, I did not bind it with those as far as I'm aware. I know I definitely don't have the safe mode on. I think you have to put the sticks in the middle and then rebind it and that kind of thing. And I didn't do any of that. I just bound it. But it flies fantastic. It's a super fast roller. It's got the maximum throws. Flies like a flat foamy, but it's very easy to hover. It's very easy to roll. It's very easy to loop. It flies in a very, very small area. It knife edges really well. It's very, very tough. Now it remains to be seen if I can fly it out in my front yard with all the, pavers and the gravel and all that stuff. But on the pavement, it flew great. And so I put a couple batteries through it. And the last battery I had it in my pocket. So I sat down in the chair to switch out the battery. And I was, just sitting up there by myself, and a bunch of guys were standing around me, and I was like, "Hey, heads up!" And so from the chair, just sitting in the chair, I just held the airplane above my head and let it go. And everybody was like, "Whoa, you can't launch from the pits, buddy," And I was like, "Well, I'm technically in the box, but I just launched from behind it instead of walking around in front." But and it was just me. So flies great in the wind. It does really, really well, high alphas and some rolling, high alpha rollers. It flies inverted real well. I was super impressed. It was super, super fun. Matter of fact, I wound up calling Scott afterwards and telling him, what a great time I had. He's like, "Yep, get low, get slow, get low." So he was encouraging me to crash it at will. So get out there And
Usually you don't get that endorsement.
no,
Just-
but
Just crash it.
Just crash it. Just
put
crash
it
a
in the
couple times.
ground.
Try it out.
And
Mhm.
bounce right back.
So I didn't put it through any crash tests.
So-
but maybe one of these days.
So, quick question,
Sure.
Mike, for you. So, what would you think for our listeners? Do you recommend it for a guy who's just getting into 3D? Somebody's been flying for a bit and they want to try a 3D airplane.
Absolutely.
Would you recommend
Absolutely.
this?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Because, like I said, my biggest thing, even though you didn't set it up for the X3X, I could see that being a benefit for a guy. If they have it set up to their gear switch, which I think they're all hardwired that way. But you're flying around, you kind of lose orientation on the plane. You just flick that gear switch, book, and the plane will just right itself. I could just imagine that being fantastic.
Yeah. So a couple of things. Number one, the airplane does fly slow enough that you don't have to get it farther than maybe 30 to 40 feet from you, right? I could literally, as a matter of fact, my driveway, my motor court out front is fairly large, but I will tell you that from my my pilot box, and our runway is like 800 feet long by, I don't know, like 100 feet wide, maybe 50 feet wide. I can't really remember. 75,
75.
maybe
I think yours is
75 feet. I can
yeah.
fly literally the width of my pilot box and the width of the runway, and not really have to go any further past that. Now, if you want to fly it way out, it gets small really quickly. But I will tell you that it's not a super speed demon, right? It's not like you're flying something that's super uber fast. And because of that, you can fly it very close and you can fly it very slow. And it has such good power to thrust to weight ratio that even just half throttle, if you put the battery, kind of balance it with just slightly tail low, you can get it to fly around in a high alpha without any inputs. You could just move the rudder around and it'll go around. It reacts very quickly. So if if there was someone that was learning 3D and they had it in the safe mode where they could only, limit the amount of roll, but their pitch was better, you could increase the pitch. You can, basically get it about 8 feet above the ground. So I'm 6 foot. If I flew it about another, 6 feet above me, you could screw it up and recover fairly easy if you could just
Right.
get the airplane straight. As a matter of fact, I was doing rollers, not rolling circles. But I just did some rollers down the runway really low, trying to just kind of do that. And then I pulled it up into a hover, and I went to do what they call a waterfall, which is where you pitch up and you pitch over the front of the airplane. And right as I got the airplane inverted, the battery quit. so it just went, and I was like, oh crap, But
I see you don't have your telemetry set either.
I do, and it did vibrate at me, but it just because I hammered the throttle kind of went into that mode and quit. It was telling me in my headset that I should have been landing, but I just thought, no, I'll just do one more. But I was able to, even with it just the height of, maybe 6 feet above the ground, the battery quit. I was able to roll it upright, and then I just pitched it up and, reduced the throttle, put the throttle back in to reset the ESC, and it just touched down. And the guy sitting next to me who was spotting me was like, wow, that was pretty impressive, And I was like, yeah, that was all luck, because it just happened at the right time. Had I been a little lower, I may have plopped it hard enough to spring the gear or break the gear, but it just had enough oomph to it that when I jammed the throttle in there, it just pitched up and sat right down on the ground. So for me, I think being an instructor, out of the field and kind of doing that, I would suggest that it's a very good airplane for someone that's getting into the 3D world. They can do it right in their front yard. They can take the gear off and just do it from a grass field, let it laying in the grass. If you did smack it onto the ground or you did kind of get low and something, hurt something, just a little CA glue and you're back in business. So, but I really liked the way it flew. It was very stable. And like I said, I'm interested in putting the AS3X on it and see if that helps out or hurts or, I don't fly these other 3Ds with any of that in there. So I don't.
Well, I'm just going to go off of the UMX Crescendo after flying that.
Mm-hmm.
And, and just getting the plane zany. And then, it's going all out of control. I'm in this rolling death dive, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm upright or right up the right side or down the wrong side. And I just flicked that switch, and the plane just levels out. And I'm like, oh. And like I was flying with Barcelou, and he was like, dude, what, how do you know which way the plane's, facing or whatever? I go, I have no idea. Right. He's just like, why are you looking at me? You should be looking at the plane. And I'm like, oh, well, it's flying upright. It's flying over there. Yeah. And he's like, how did you do that? You weren't even looking at it. And I'm like, yeah, that's skill, baby. But I was just messing with him, just
magic.
Yeah. Just flipping that switch, and the plane just rights itself and flies right. So I could see where if you're just learning and you get a little too far from you, or you got it rolling out of control, and just being able to flip that emergency switch with your finger.
Yeah, that's a safe mode. I do not have that on there, but it would be interesting to put that on, see how it works. And actually, Jay, that's a good segue, because while I was out there flying, there was I met a nice lady out there who was fairly new at RC flying. She was pretty excited, and she had the big Consindo. So I was flying the little UMX one. And I saw her out there. She was flying this big one. And so her and her husband were out, and he's got bigger airplanes. I know he's got a turbine or two, and he's one of our club members. But she literally just soloed like last week. And she's pretty excited. And so she's got this airplane. And so I walked over, introduced myself, and I was just like, hey, I see you've got this Consindo, and are you flying it on a 3-cell or 4-cell? And she said, no, I fly it on a 3-cell. And I was like, oh, have you flown it on a 4-cell? And she's like, no. Oh, I have, but, I don't really notice a difference. And I was like, huh. And so I kind of brought her up to speed that, we had a podcast, and that we had done some testing on the Consindo when it first came out, and, had done kind of review, and that the 3-cell we just felt was a little lethargic. And she goes, well, I have a 4-cell, but I can't get it to fit in there. And I was like, oh. Well, I think it'll take either, right? So we walked back to the table. She rummaged around in her bag. She found it. She said, oh, I have a 4-cell right here. And so she went to go stick it in, but she had the wires facing the wrong direction, I think, initially. And then finally she goes, oh, they must go this way. And they turned around. And as soon as she turned it around, it slipped right in. It dropped into place. And then she put the cover on. She's like, oh, wow, this fits perfect. And, of course, her husband's like, yeah, let's try the 4-cell. And the first thing I said was, hey, don't let me talk you into anything that you don't feel comfortable doing, right? I mean, I don't want to be responsible for wrecking your plane because Mike says, hey, go fly the 4-cell. And she's like, no, it's okay. I guess I could try it. I said, I go, well, once again, I'm not trying to convince you to do something. I just was interested to see what your opinion was since you were flying it. And her husband's like, well, you always have throttle control. If it gets too fast, just pull the throttle out. And I was like, well, that's true right. too, right? And so he talked her into doing it. And quick note, she, I don't know, this kind of bugs me when people do this, but that airplane does have AS3X and safe mode in it. And when she put the battery together, she picked the airplane up. And now it won't, yes. Engage. And so
it wouldn't arm
it
itself.
doesn't arm. And so she's standing there. She's like, I don't know what's wrong with it. It's unarmed. And so finally I said, does it have a safe in it? Because if it does, you have to do that flat on the table. And then it was like the light bulb came on. She's like, oh, it does have safe in it. So we put it flat on the table, redid it. It bound real quick, armed itself. And so she walked out to the flight line, and I followed her because I was like, come out and watch. I was like, okay. So her and her husband are standing there. Her husband's going to launch for her, and he says, okay, I'm getting ready. And he's going to hand launch it just straight out over the runway. And, of course, she's used to flying the 3-cell. So he says, ready, set. And he says to her, you're not going to need full throttle. And all she heard was full throttle. So she just went full throttle, and that Consindo disappeared, like just gone. I mean, it was gone. And I felt terrible because, he launched it, she hammered it, and that thing just went zing. and she's like, she goes, I don't have it. I don't see it. And her husband's like, I don't see it either. And the only person who saw it was me. And I go, okay, Nancy, I just need you to pull the throttle to idle. And she's like, okay. I said, all the way to idle. I said, now I need you to give it a left turn. She said, I am turning left. I said, nope, just keep putting the stick in there, keep going to left turn. And her husband's like, I don't see it. I don't see it. I go, it's way out there, but it's coming back to us. So just keep doing what you're doing. And then I go, okay, now right where that's at, you need to level the wing. So just stop your turn, level the stick. And I said, now just let it come back to us. And they're looking. And finally the husband goes, I see it. And she's like, I don't see it. And he grabs her by the face and he spins her face around. He goes, it's right here. And he's trying to hold her face up, and she's like looking around. And I'm like,
right into the sun.
I know,
My
right?
eyes.
And I started laughing. Poor Nancy. I felt so bad for her. And I was like, nope, just keep coming back. Keep coming back. I said, you're doing fine. Don't put any power to it. And it was just gliding right on in. But I mean, it was up there because he launched it at about 45 degrees. And then finally she said, oh, I see it. And I'm like, okay, there you go. So she put a little bit of throttle, brought it back to us. She did a couple of circuits around, and she's like, wow, that force cell got away from me. And I was like, well, at least everybody saw where it went. I would have been, good thing I was watching it, because had I not seen it, we would have been like, we don't know where it went. So anyway, her husband goes, hey, do you want to try it? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to if you want to let me. And he's like, yeah, sure. And so they handed me the controller. So first thing I did was try to make a turn, and it didn't turn. And I go, Nancy, do you have safe mode on this thing? And she's like, oh, I probably didn't turn it off. And I went click. And as soon as I did, I got full control. But that's why it wouldn't come back to her, because she was in this big turn and it was only limiting itself. So it was going like way to the next town before it was going to turn around.
Because usually when you launch it, you have to have it in the launch mode.
And that's what it was. It was in the launch mode.
And it'll climb out a 45 or 35 degree angle, until you level it off.
Well,
and change the throttle setting, and then it just stays level.
I will tell you that, Jay, that was a beast. I flew this on a force cell, and he handed it to me, and it was, just gliding along. I went ahead and just hammered it. And I mean, I brought it right to me. So I was right down the runway, and I hammered that thing, and it took off like a, homesick angel. I went vertical. I rolled it about 6 times going vertical. I pulled the power off, did a beautiful tail slide, did a roll coming down. The guy was like, holy crap, that thing will roll, and I'm like, yeah, it's got some speed to it. And I did a couple of low, high speed passes. I did a figure 8. I did a half Cuban. I did a loop. I did a outside loop. It was a lot of fun. And getting in and out of the throttle was the way to go, right? Because it's just very much like the little Consindo. You hammer the throttle on the vertical, pull the throttle out on the down lines, hammer it going up, hammer it going. And so I used hardly any battery at all, because, I just used the zoom to get where I needed to be, and then used gravity to bring myself back around. Did a real tight spiral. It did a great, snap roll. It was really, really fun. And I flew it for probably, a couple of circuits around. And then I asked the guys, like, hey, did you want to fly it before the battery goes? And he's like, yeah, let me try it. And so he flew it around, and then, they came in and landed. But it was a great opportunity to fly the big Consindo with a force cell. I was very impressed with it. So yes, we definitely have to get you back on the Consindo with a force cell and see if you like it, because it felt way more like a hotliner than I think your go around. And I have to give kudos to Nancy. I told her about the podcast. Hope she'll listen. But yeah, she did a great job. She didn't panic. She didn't start smacking sticks around trying to find her plane. She did exactly what she was told, and it got it back in one piece. And she's a really great stick. I was very impressed because I watched her fly.
She just didn't put the radio down, turn it off, and put
didn't
the radio
do that.
down. Well, I don't have it. I don't have it.
She was a trooper, letting me fly her airplane. Putting her faith in me. And it was kind of nice that she let me do that, and it was fun. So, and then I went back, flew my little one, and it was totally different. So. The big one does have a lot of area, so compared to the small one. So, and it penetrates the wind real well. So, anyway, shout out to Nancy and her husband. They did a good job, and I do appreciate them letting me, fly the airplane. It was a good experience, and it was a good day out at the field. So, got to hang out with Tony and awesome. Mike and a couple of the other guys, and we all kind of just hung out, and we flew for. See, I got there around 5:30, 6 o'clock, and we flew till about 9 or 10. So was a good morning. Yeah, the Bearcat flew great.
Well, now I'm looking for. I was going to say I'm looking forward to flying that plane because when I brought my little one out and Jim got to fly it and check it out, and he was all excited about it.
Right.
And the only thing that he didn't like, of course, was it got small quick.
Right.
Really small quick, being the UMX. Yep. And so he was thinking about buying it and whatever else, and we were talking about it. And next thing I know, he's like, "Hey, I'm getting the big one." And I'm like, "You are?" And he's like, "Yeah, your little one was so much fun. I think I'm just going to get the bigger one." And I go, "Oh, they're about the same price, so yeah, I think that's a good idea." And so he got it, and we still have to maiden it. So luckily he's feeling better. So we're probably going to be flying at the end of summer.
Well,
here.
I'm not going to lie
so
to you.
The
big one gets small quick too. So on a 4-cell.
Well,
So
my
don't
left
kid
thumb works
yourself.
pretty good. So.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a little used to it after flying the my warm liner, the Blizzard.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was a fun
Yeah,
plane.
that was a fun plane.
And that one tip stalled. It was a wicked tip staller.
Yeah,
so.
this one didn't tip stall
This
at all.
one sounds like it doesn't have that. Yeah, it doesn't have that problem.
Nah, it's got a little bit of reflex in it, I think, and that definitely helps out. So
yeah.
Well, Shannon, any word from Romania at all? Have you heard?
Yeah, so we've been watching what Tim's been providing us, and he was the last person to go through the static judging, and he said he's learned so much. Their level of static judging compared to what they do at Scale Masters,
Sure.
he says it's night and day. At ours, we kind of, the judges view it from a distance. These guys get up in it literally, and they're
That's amazing.
counting rivets.
Yeah, you're missing 3 rivets.
They're counting rivets.
That's that Russian judge.
Yeah,
again.
exactly.
No, that Russian judge.
Or what, the upholstery color is off by a half a shade or something. It's so hasn't gotten hadn't had a score that he posted or anything, but he just said it was really exciting. And then they had there's one of the days after they have all the stag judging, they have like a share a dish or something from your part of the world. So in the good old American way, they put up a bourbon bar. So people can order American bourbons. So they're quite popular with all of the all the competitors.
Jack Daniels
so
and whiskey.
Pretty cool, but
bourbon whiskey.
Yeah. So so down the road, I'm sure we'll definitely we'll get Tim on here. I know Tim will join us and explain it to us. But yeah, it's just cool to see us and he got some award. He got like a shout out from something. It wasn't. I don't know if it was from the competition, but like whoever puts on or sponsors us, the U.S. team kind of gave him an award for participation and stuff like that. So, but it's really exciting just to kind of watch and see the aircraft. I mean, the aircraft there is just
truly amazing. So, well, good. Well,
so how many rivets are on the consent?
Exactly. Well, one big one, one big one right in the middle, holds the wing on. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Well, our time is up for this week. We do appreciate you joining us. And reach out to us at the parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you're doing. Or you can jump on our YouTube channel. I think the comments are open. So, feel free to give us a comment, like, subscribe, and do all that good stuff for us. We appreciate it. But for now, I'm Michael in Arizona.
And I'm Jay in the hills of Texas.
And Shannon G in Mesa AZ.
And we will see you in 2 weeks.
Let's fly.
You have been listening to the Park Flyer Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your next visit. Please give our show a star rating and review, and feel free to email us your questions, topics, or suggestions to parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com.